Okay, so today we're going to do something a little bit fun that I really just kind of came up with on the fly, but I'm really excited about it. We're going to test my memory. So basically, for the remainder of this video until we get to the point of the outro, I'm going to do what I normally would do with a bookshelf tour, showing you books one by one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a couple of seconds here or there to see if I can recall the plot of the book. Wish me luck, because I'm already a bit nervous, but I hope this is just something that's a little bit of fun. Start now. Love Clancy is a book about a dog who writes letters to his parents back at home. The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse is a book about a boy, a mole, fox and a horse who gather around in the forest and talk about some really amazing things. Letters to the Lost is a book about, it's a dual perspective about two people who are writing letters to each other that are helping each other through grief and different things that have occurred throughout their lives. More Than We Can Tell by Bridget Kemmerer. One of the people that we follow in Letters to Lost, their friend, dealing through with some tough stuff of his own. My Dark Vanessa is a book about a girl who, it's dual perspective, past and present. She goes to school, boarding school, she ends up in a relationship with her teacher, and she learns things from it. Princess Diaries is a book about a girl who is just very much introverted, wants to be on her own, wants to be a shadow, finds out she's a princess, finds out she has to go through lessons. 13 Reasons Why is a book about a boy who wakes up one day to find 13 cassette tapes on his front door, and they are from someone who has passed away and helping him to get through the grief and loss. The Devil Wears Prada is a book about a girl who ends up getting a job at a fashion magazine, working for a tyrant boss. Revenge Wears Prada is book 2 in this series, and it continues to follow on that same girl and some things that happen that I don't want to spoil. The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón is a book about a boy who goes to a cemetery of forgotten books, buys a book, falls in love with an author, and does a lot of research on him. Unstoppable My Life So Far by Maria Sharapova is a book about Maria Sharapova from the moment she was born all the way through to the moment she dealt with the Maldonian scandal. Cancer Schmancer is a book by Fran Drescher that talks about her time when she was diagnosed with cancer and all the tough things she had to go through. From Scratch by Tembi Locke is a book, an adult memoir based on Tembi Locke going over to Italy and meeting the love of her life and all the cultural experiences that she has over there. Home by Julie Andrews is an adult memoir based on Julie Andrews. It starts before she's born and ends at the point when she's in Mary Poppins. Helen Keller's Teacher by Margaret Davidson is a book about Helen Keller's teacher, from the moment the teacher is born, all the way through to the teacher meeting Helen Keller and everything she does for her. Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham is a book that's come in handy right about now, but it is dealing with Lauren from the moment she's born until everything she goes through with the Gilmore Girls. P.S. I Like You by Casey West is the only romance book that I own. It's about two people who are writing letters to each other. They find out who they are and they help each other through stuff. Keeper of the Lost City is book 1 in that series by Shannon Messenger, is a book about a girl who finds out that there is more to her than meets the eye. She ends up going to school and learning more about who she is. Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero by Rick Riordan follows three kids who go through certain things to do with Greek and Roman mythology in order to complete some quests. Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan is a book about a boy called Percy who doesn't know that there is more to him than meets the eye. He finds this out, goes on a quest, and goes through things to do with Greek and Roman mythology. Bot Wars by J.B. Cade is a book about a boy whose name is Trout, who has lost his mother because she died, lost his father because he's gone missing, and he's trying to find where his father is. The Forest of Silence, book 1 in the Del Toro Quest series by Emily Rodder, is a book about some people who are trying to find these gems because they were in a very important battle and they've gone missing. Rowan of Rim by Emily Rodder is a book about a boy called Rowan who is part of a tribe, and he has to go and do something, go on a quest with these other tribes people, but they don't think he's going to be good enough, and he ends up being amazing. Beverly Right Here by Kate DiCarmelo follows a girl by the name of Beverly who is kicked out of home at a very young age and she has to find her way on her own in the world. It's an amazing book. Goosebumps Welcome to Dead House by R.L. Stein is the first book in the Goosebumps series that talks about a family who moves into a haunted house and they find out things along the way to do with why it's haunted. For the sake of spoilers, I'm just going to talk about this series as a whole. This is the Divergent series by Veronica Roth that follows these people who live in a dystopian world. They have to choose where they're going to live because there's many different factions, and we follow a girl named Tris Pryor. The Nutcracker by E.T.A. Hoffman is a book about a boy and a girl who end up learning things about the toy world thanks to a toy soldier that the girl receives for Christmas. Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson, a boy whose name is David, who ends up getting involved in a fight with some of these epics who are bad people, and then he learns about them and he joins a group called the Reckoners to try and fight the epics. Cinder by Marissa Meyer is a sci-fi fairy tale retelling of the story Cinderella. It revolves around a girl called Cinder who has mechanical parts within her body, and then she learns a lot of lessons along the way. The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper is a book that revolves around a boy who has everything that he ever wanted, but his life is uprooted and he needs to move interstate because his father, Calcenia, has a position with NASA, but it goes really well and he ends up finding some love. More Happy Than Not by Adam Silver is machines that can change things in your mind and get rid of memories, and a guy has to debate whether or not he wants to relieve himself of the memories of being gay. History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silver is another LGBTIQ+ book. It follows the lives of two boys who are affected by another boy who has passed away, the current boyfriend and the ex-boyfriend, and they're helping each other through the grief. Captive Prince by C.S. Picard is an LGBTIQ+ book. It follows a prince who becomes a slave and he is tortured for many reasons that I still don't know why. All Systems Red by Martha Wells is actually a novella, so we don't really learn a lot, but we do learn that he is meant to be trying to murder other people, but all he is interested in, apparently, is watching soap operas. The Calculating Stars by Mira Robinette. A meteorite hits the area they live in the United States, so they have to move interstate. Once they move interstate, they're part of this NASA program, and it is a really big fight to do with women's equality. Pretty Little Lies is a contemporary written by Sarah Shepard. 5 girls who are sleeping in a barn one night, then one of the girls goes missing her, meanwhile they're being stalked by an antagonist known by the name of A. The Guest List is a mystery book that follows a couple of different people. It's multi-perspective. They're at a wedding reception and someone is a murderer and we're trying to work out who the murderer is. Pet Sematary by Stephen King is a horror. It follows the lives of a family who move into a house from another area, and while they're there, they find out about a pet cemetery. Lots of things go on, not as horrific as I thought it was going to be. Misery by Stephen King is another adult horror. This follows the life of an author who ends up being caught in a snowbank. He is rescued by his number one fan, quote-unquote, who is just absolutely evil and tortures him along the way. The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle has a time loop involved. We have a character who goes into multiple bodies every single day because that's part of the time loop to trying to determine who committed this murder. The Dead Girls Detective Agency is a YA book. It's also a murder mystery, but our protagonist is the one who is murdered. She ends up in limbo, but before she can move on, she needs to find out who murdered her and why. The Vampire Kisses series, a girl who loves and is obsessed with vampires, wants to be bitten by a vampire, and meets family who moves next door who she thinks are vampires, so she's trying to work out things to do with that. Evermore by Alison Noel is also a YA paranormal. It follows a girl by the name of Eva, who just so happens to have quote-unquote psychic abilities, but she doesn't like it, so it's a very interesting book. The Shadowhunter series would follow a girl by the name of Clary Frey, who finds out that she's a Shadowhunter, and she has to go through many different things. Shadowhunters are beings who are meant to be fighting the forces of evil. Caravel by Stephanie Garber is a YA fantasy. It revolves around a girl who ends up going into a not quite carnival, not quite fair kind of situation where things are magical and she has to go through all these different trials to get to the end. Legendary by Stephanie Garber is a YA fantasy. It's the second book in that series, but instead this time we're following protagonists from the first book series, Sister. It's more focused on character relationships. An Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard evolves around a girl who's born in the human world. There's the human world and the unseen world. The unseen world is the world of magic. She ends up getting involved in a magical tournament. Harry Potter is a fantasy series that follows a boy by the name of Harry Potter who ends up finding out that he is a cursed child who needs to try and defeat a really evil guy. It turns out he's a wizard as well. He goes to a school of witchcraft and wizardry. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier is an adult classic that follows a girl who we don't know, which is an unnamed protagonist, who ends up getting married to a guy that she hardly knows, and she finds out more about his former wife. The Phantom of the Opera follows two people who end up buying an opera house in Paris, and there is a phantom who lives there, and they're trying to work out if the phantom is real or not. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens follows the character of Ebenezer Scrooge, who says bah humbug about Christmas. He ends up being visited by the ghost of past, present, and future, who end up convincing him that Christmas is a really beautiful thing. The Christmas Box revolves around a man who, with his daughter and wife, move into a home to take care of a widowing elderly woman, and he learns lessons along the way that help him to realize the gift of beauty of love. The Skyward series is a young adult sci-fi series that follows a girl. Her father ends up dying. She ends up joining the same academy that he does, and she learns a lot of things to do with spaceships and the alien race that they're trying to fight. Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, where within that world there was an area called Elantris. Unfortunately, Elantris is not around anymore because certain things have happened. We're trying to find out what the heck did happen. Mistborn, the Final Empire revolves around a girl called Vin, who ends up finding out that there is more to her than meets the eye. She's a Mistborn. Trained by the wonderful Kelsia, Vin learns how to become more confident within herself. These are books 2 and 3 in the Mistborn series. I'm not going to spoil them, so we'll just have Mistborn, the Final Empire represent all 3. Mistborn Era 2. It revolves around 2 people, Wax and Wayne, who are both detectives. Wax is very much a model of Kelsia, while Wayne is a hilariously humorous guy. Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Following 2 princesses, one of them is captured and learns a lot of different things. The other one goes on a quest to find the captured sister. The Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson. Very hard to explain. We are dealing in a world that has a lot of wars and a lot of sword fight playing. We do come to find out a magic system in the end. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins is a YA dystopian that revolves around a girl whose name is Katniss, who ends up being entered into an unfortunate event known as the Hunger Games, where children need to run around trying to kill each other and only one person is going to survive. The Vampire Academy that follows the lives of two different girls. They are both training at a school called Vampire Academy. A lot of things happen on the way that I don't want to spoil, but there you go. The Deal of a Lifetime by Frederick Bachman. It follows a man who is in a hospital and he makes a deal with someone. I'm not going to say what the deal is because the deal is a spoiler, but it's a really big deal, this deal, and he has to decide whether he's going to take it or not. The Archivist Side series revolves around the Grim Reaper thingies, and it's in a dystopian world where these Grim Reaper thingies are trying to give an apprenticeship to two humans who are betrothed by Kiera Cass. Is a YA book that revolves around a woman who is betrothed to marry a king, but the more she learns about what that will entail being married to this king, the more she realizes she doesn't want to do this. The Siren is a standalone book by Kiera Cass. It is a YA fantasy that revolves around three girls who are sirens. They were made sirens by the ocean, and that's the best I can say without spoiling it. The Selection by Kiera Cass is a YA dystopian series that follows a girl by the name of American Singer. She is entered into a lottery draw to take part in a bachelor kind of situation with a prince. The Eye of the Dragon is a prince whose father, the king, ends up being killed and he is blamed for it, so he's locked away. Meanwhile, there are two princes, two brothers. They both live different lives. It's very much a dual perspective. Personal Demons by Lisa DeRoches is a YA fantasy that revolves around a girl by the name of Franny Kavanagh who needs to be tagged for either heaven or hell. She's not tagged for either at the moment. There's going to be a war between heaven and hell, and she is going to be the tip of the scale. The replacement by Brenna Yovanov. We are following a boy by the name of Mackie who has these different illnesses. A lot of different things make him ill, and we're trying to work out why. The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty is a YA fantasy, I do believe, that revolves around a woman who ends up finding a djinn, which is the name for a genie in this world, and they end up doing things with The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. It revolves around a boy who is being babysat by this babysitter who ends up being really, really evil, and so we have to deal with certain things within the book. The Rage of Dragons revolves around a boy whose name is Tao, who wants revenge, and he has to do a couple of different things in order to try and get to a position where he can enact that revenge. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I did have a lot more books, but I have gotten rid of a lot of them because I just didn't want them anymore. But yeah, how did I do? You know better than I do. Phew, that is my workout for the day done. I hope you had a lot of fun with this, and if you played along at home, let me know how you went. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. Mwah. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Happy reading! Bye, guys!